Hello everybody and welcome back to the Leeds Lens. We're back live today. We're not doing a video. Thank you Lord for allowing us to do this, of course. But today we've got quite a bit to get into today, and of course, if you remember, we have got streams for the rest of the week now as well. We've got a Thursday stream, we've got a Friday stream, we've got a Sunday stream. It streams from now on, and obviously we've got a Saturday stream straight after the match as well. But we need to talk about what we're going to talk about today, don't we? Rather than that. So today we're going to be talking about a report coming in from Football Insider, and you'd say Football Insider, oh, don't talk about it, Scott. But actually, the reporter is Peter O'Rourke, and of all the journalists in Football Insider, he's actually the best one by a country mile. So that's why I'm bringing it up today. He's talked about Leeds United in the January transfer window, the double swoop potential. I know that could be fantastic for Leeds United. So we'll talk a bit about that and what the report says, whereabouts the double swoop is coming from, what positions would the double swoop be. So quite a bit to get into with that. We're also going to talk about, if we are going to do a double swoop, which potential players will we go for? So talk a bit about Harry Wilson, Spurtazan, etc. And I do want to talk a bit as well today about Wilfried Gnonto. And he's a player, to be honest with you, that I've been wanting to talk about for a while on this channel. Because obviously had that fantastic year with Jesse Marsch in the Premier League, where for me he was the best player. He's come down, and under Farke still, it hasn't quite happened for him. And I think there's a debate now and a talking point of where we go with Gnonto. Not he's been terrible, but he's not reached them dizzy heights that we once saw from Wilfried Gnonto. So where do we go with that? And naturally, like always, we do these live for you guys to get involved. So get your comments in and we'll go through certain stuff. We'll try to keep it on the topic areas for tonight. And we'll save the sort of other things for Friday. But for Friday's show. But yeah, we'll let's get into the show anyway, because I've talked too long there. But yeah, let's start with this double swoop story. So this came in from Football Insider yesterday. Well, I was obviously couldn't do it live, otherwise we would have covered it then. And the report was about Leeds United, suggesting that Leeds United are going to go into the market in January. So obviously we've talked about on this channel before, Robbie Evans coming out and saying Leeds United are not going to get involved in anything in January. And we actually know from the 49ers in the past and what they've done in the past, Leeds United so far, they haven't really invested at all in that January transfer window. But actually, Peter O'Rourke goes on to say that Leeds United do look to invest in the January transfer window, and they are going to look for sort of solutions to sort that out in the transfer window. And it also goes on to talk a bit as well about, positions. And the positions that he mentions talks about an attacking midfield player and a winger. And I think when you look at sort of the Leeds United ranks at this moment in time, I do think the winger and the attacking midfield position are probably the two keys in the team. Like if you look at sort of what Leeds United didn't do in the summer transfer window, I do think the winger and the attacking midfield player is a place that Leeds United are going to need to go. So I think that's quite interesting. And I think that part of this, obviously, people are going to go, it's Football Insider, there's not much truth in it. I do think, I think we will do something in the January transfer window. I really do. There's a few reasons for this. The first reason is, there is ways that we can get money into the football club. I know people are going to go, and Robbie Evans has said, we've got no money, we've spent it all up. I don't really buy it. Now, I buy it in terms of I don't actually think we've got more to spend than we currently have in the January in the transfer window. I think we have spent up, but we saw Leeds United at the end of the transfer window trying to do different structured deals. So obviously you can do a deal where you pay up front, like you do on most deals, but you can do stuff like loan with an obligation to buy. You can do loan with an option to buy. There's loads of different deals that you can actually do, and I think that's something that Leeds United will explore in January. We know from the sort of Armenian end that even like Spurtazan could be open to a move where the payment structure would benefit Leeds United. We know that Sheffield United could be open to that with Gustavo Hamer. We know potentially if Harry Wilson doesn't end up signing a new deal at Fulham, that there could be option there for Leeds United as well. So I do think there's a number of options where different payment plans can come into place. And also on top of that, there is the alternative that obviously Leeds United can sell players in the January transfer window as well. So I don't think it's as bland as saying we've run out of money, we've got no money, we're not going to do anything in the window, because yes, in the past, Leeds United and the 49ers haven't done anything in the window. Like, if you look last summer, last January transfer window, the talk was around Cameron Archer, if people remember. We didn't do Cameron Archer in the end. That was something that Leeds United have ended up avoiding. And Leeds United couldn't get over the line because the structure of what Leeds United wanted from it wasn't there. But the intent was there from Leeds United to do it. And also, if you remember back, and I was thinking about this today when I was thinking about my notes to write for this video, like always, and I was thinking back to last January transfer window. And does anyone remember the report? I think it was from the YEP that was talking about Parag going to Daniel Farke and asking about the goalkeeping situation. Because I remember the report after the Hull City game. I think we drew 3-3 with away at Hull. Melee dropped 2 corners. It was an absolute disaster. I think we were winning the game 3-1, weren't we? And threw it all away. And I remember a report coming out after saying that Parag had gone to the board at that moment, gone to Daniel Farke at that moment in time and said, "Do you need me to get you a goalkeeper?" That's what he said. That was reported all over at the time. Parag went to Daniel Farke and said, Mezze's cost us in this game. We need to go up this year. Do you need me to get a goalkeeper? And that shows again, even though the 49ers traditionally haven't spent in the January transfer window, if the option comes available and there's a sort of dying need to do something in the January market, Leeds United will go into the market. And I think this year there will be that, because I look at sort of the clubs that we're going to compete with. We've already seen that West Ham are going to do stuff in January. I expect Wolves are going to do stuff in January. I expect Sunderland might do a bit more in January as well. I expect Burnley might do a bit more in January. All these teams that we're going to be battling with, that we talked about on yesterday's show, I do think that we'll be doing stuff in the January transfer window. So Leeds United cannot stand still. And I think, as we've talked about, and we've talked about this on the channel before, if we get to a point in the window where Leeds United are in a position where we're either quite vulnerable or in a position, if we're absolutely dead relegated, then at that point, then I don't think they'll bother. And if we're miles ahead, then they won't bother. But I don't think we're going to be in either of them situations. I think we're going to be in a sort of a comforting sort of okay position, maybe around 16th, 17th, 15th, somewhere around that area. And I think Leeds United will look at that and go, add the extra bits of qualities, get yourself a Gustavo Hammering, get yourself a Spurtazan, whoever it is, and we can really boost and bolster this sort of 11 and sort of just take Leeds United to that next level to get us to the end of the transfer window. So yeah, I think that is something to mention. I really do think, but again, I'm interested in how you guys think on that. Are you with me on this? Do you think that we will do stuff in the window, or do you actually believe Robbie Evans and believe what he said about it and say, look, we're not going to go there and we're not going to do anything in the window? I just really don't see that personally. I really genuinely do not see that. But yeah. So that's going to be the question, and I think that's where it's important. And also, I think when you look at sort of the positions that we need, as I said, I do think there is 2 positions that are quite clearly the worst positions on the team sheet, and I don't think we use them at the moment. Like, the attacking midfield's an interesting one because we don't really play with an attacking midfielder, but I do think at times, and I don't think we saw this much in the Wolves game, obviously in the most recent game, but I do think there's times when I do think we miss that sort of attacking sprinkle in the midfield, let's say. The attacking spark, the attacking, like, just that extra bit of next level quality. And I think maybe Tanaka can bring that at times. But the likes of a Hamer or someone of that ilk in that role, I do think would really bolster this Leeds United team in, as I said, in positions where we actually do quite, I think we do struggle at times. And I do think on that right-hand side, we've obviously tried Brendan Aronson out there in a number of weeks. We've tried James out there this season. We've tried Gnonto out there in season. I don't think any of them have really made that right-hand side their own yet. Like, I look at Okafor on the left and think, if he's fit, he'll start. I look at DCL up front and think, if he's fit, he'll start. I don't think we've got that on the right-hand side at the moment, in my opinion. I know Aronson's been in the team, but I don't think we've seen that's where it's going to dominate that right-hand side. So I do think Leeds United will look at doing something on the right-hand side. And we know, as I said, Leeds United are willing to do a bit more because of the Harry Wilson stuff as well. Like, we've obviously talked about Heyman going in late there and trying to structure that sort of obligation to buy deal. But we also know with Harry Wilson as well, that coming to later in the window, we did actually try to do that deal. So the money will be, there is some money there. I don't really buy that there isn't. I don't think there's any doubt we'll recruit a couple of players in the next window. Yeah, I agree. The Robbie Evans thing, by the way, because I think people get caught up on this quote that Robbie Evans made. The reason Robbie Evans said that, people, is because all summer window, and I've talked about this on the channel before, all summer window, we basically got told we're going to be one of the best teams in Europe, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to spend everything we've got. And I think they elevated what people expected from the summer window to a level that was just completely extreme and off the scale. And we're going to do all this stuff later on in the end of the window. And then when we actually did an okay window, which is what I thought we did, but it wasn't this dizzy heights that they'd sort of sold it. I think people went, oh, this is awful. And it wasn't awful. Like, you look at the back of the summer window, we signed 10 players. A lot of them are doing quite well. All the attackers have now scored. The defence, Goodmanson looks a really good signing. There is good signs in there. Longstaff's done well. as well, and so Stack. So the window was good, but I think they elevated it to a level where everyone believed that we were going to sign a Galactico 11. And then when it didn't happen, there was sort of this massive backlash. And I think the 49ers have learned from that and learned that they can't just say all the crazy stuff and pretend like this everything's rosy when it's not, because Leeds United fans don't buy it. And then when they don't get what you've sold us, which is what happened, they don't get what you've sold us, they get really frustrated. And I think when they look at the January transfer window, and I think the reason Robbie Evans said what he was, because he doesn't want to oversell it this time, like they oversold the summer. He basically wants to go, I won't do anything in the window. And then when Leeds United do actually do something in the window, naturally then everybody goes, fantastic, we've done something in the window, brilliant. We said we weren't going to, and they don't raise the expectation to a level like that in the summer, where then everyone gets really disappointed. So I think that's what Leeds United are doing in the window. I don't buy the fact that we're not going to do it, as PSF says. I don't really buy it. I just think it's so obvious that Leeds United will do something in the January window. It's just whereabouts and who the players will be. Because the only thing with Harry Wilson, if we move on to him now, is that of course Fulham look like they're going to try get him on a new deal. This was reported by the Football World, which is I think down on the Chelsea end, and they reported that actually they are in contract negotiations and they're actively looking now, Fulham, to give Harry Wilson a new contract. Now anyone that's like, "Wow, this is horrendous news," this was always going to happen. This was always going to happen. He's in his final year of his contract at this moment in time. In January, he'll have 6 months left on his deal. They can't be in a position, Fulham, where they're going to lose him on a free. It would make no sense. So what do? You put him in the team a bit. Yes, obviously Fulham want to get results, and people might say you might not do this, but I think this is what's happened. I think you put him in the team a bit. You see how he does in the 11 for of course Leeds United. See how he does it, not for Leeds United, for Fulham. See how he does in the 11. Give him his chance, and then give him a few games, and then all of a sudden go, there's your new contract. Get him a bit happy. Go, because Harry Wilson was obviously disappointed that he wasn't getting game time. So what do? As I said, give him a bit of game time. Probably put a colour around him, say you're really important to the club, and then crack him with a new contract so they don't lose him on a crap fee or on a free or something like that. I think it's just an obvious play from Fulham. It really is. Farke's the strongest squad he's ever had in his life. That's why he just needs to shut up and manage instead of pretending he's disappointed with the quality. I know what you mean on this PSF. I know we slightly disagree on the level of quality, but I do agree with you. This talk, and I talked about this, I think, in Sunday's video last week. This talk that sort of Leeds United have got this terrible squad and we haven't got this individual quality, fine. Even if it's true, I just don't want to hear it from my manager. I don't want to hear that we're not going to get away wins. I don't want to hear that the quality, this player's not good enough. I don't want to hear that player's not good enough. I don't want to hear that we haven't got this player anymore. I don't want to hear any of it. I don't really care. Daniel Farke came out after the press conference, after the first press conference of the transfer window. So the transfer window finished. He had then his first press conference on the Thursday, and he came out and said, this is the situation we've got, and we've got to deal with it. And all he's done since is moan about the window, and it's so frustrating. I'm like, you said you weren't going to do that, and now you are doing. So just shut up and let us enjoy it. That's what PSF's saying, and I think that's the same with me as well. Like when he's coming out after the game at the weekend saying, "Oh, this and this," I just didn't. I get it, and I think it's rational, and I don't think we've got the sort of squad that PSF thinks we have. We talk about this all the time, me and PSF, but in my personal opinion, even if we don't have the squad, you don't have to keep reminding the fan base, and let the fan base dream. Let the fan base dream right now that we're going to get into Europe. We don't have to say it, and the club don't have to put it out that we're going to get in Europe like they were doing in the summer and all this tosh. I know they weren't saying that exactly, but they were saying stuff of that narrative in terms of what we were going to do in the window. So the club don't have to set an expectation for itself. But let the fans dream of wherever they want us to finish. Like PSF thinks we're going to finish ninth. Let him think that we're going to finish ninth. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So yeah, I agree with PSF really. I just don't really like it. Anyway, let's watch some more notes I've got written. There's also other names in January that I think are quite interesting. Like I think we've obviously heard these names before, but like we know Leeds United went for Isaac Price in the summer. I wonder if that's something we potentially could revisit again. I don't know. Isaac Price. There was Strokins. Is it Strokins as well from Anderlecht, the attacking midfield player? Again, another one that was reports on deadline day. Do you remember the Joe Blackburn thing on deadline day where there was this thing about the plane coming and then it didn't come? But there was clearly something going on there, and I think that I'd like to see a bit more clarity on that deal. But we know Leeds United have been actually interested in that deal as well. So there will be a number 10s to go get in the window, as PSF said. I think we will do stuff in January. I think there will be options for Leeds United in the market. I don't know the obvious right winger solution for me other than Harry Wilson. But I do think there will be options. On Harry Wilson, by the way, I know there's this talk that he's sort of not that good and it was awful against Leeds and it wasn't. He obviously scored against Fulham, against Brentford, but he wasn't that good in that game. I like Harry Wilson. I really like Harry Wilson. And I look at a front three of Okafor, DCL, and Wilson, and I think that's a really balanced front three. I think you look at Okafor, he's got the pace, he's got the power, he's got the dribbling. Then you look at Wilson, who's got the sort of creative mind, more silky on the ball, got to see that pass. And then you've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who's more the physical, strong, powerful, tall, physical striker. And I think that as a front three really complements itself really well. I think you get a bit of each individual attribute from each individual player, because you don't always want mirroring attributes across your whole front line. You want people with different skill sets. And I look at them three as a skill set and a front three, and I think there's something there. I think I like the different attributes that they all offer this Leeds United team. I really do. So me bringing Wilson on the right-hand side in January would be a superb bit of business. It really would. And there is still reports, by the way. Yes, there's reports that he's potentially going to give a new contract, but there is reports that he still actually fancies the move to Leeds United. So I would really actively pursue that and actively hope that can happen. Because as I said, the skill set of what Harry Wilson can bring us on that right-hand side, in comparison to what Okafor brings on the left and DCL brings up front, I think that meshes into a really nice sort of combination of attributes between all them three that would really sort of facilitate a really nice attacking unit, in my opinion. And the other thing to mention with Harry Wilson as well is, I think he'd benefit Jayden Bogle on the right-hand side, because Harry Wilson, naturally being left-footed, if you watch him, he's obviously played the number 10 role at times as well, but he's mainly on the right, but he likes to drift inside. That's his game. And what happens if Harry Wilson obviously drifts inside is it leaves that overlap for Jayden Bogle to allow him to do crosses like we saw at the weekend, but also do that overlapping run and get to the byline and put balls across there as well. And I actually think, if you see when Bogle's had his best games, like you look at even the Sheffield Wednesday game this season, it was when he had Gnonto on that right-hand side, and Gnonto naturally likes to drift inside. I think he plays better, in my opinion, Bogle, when he's got sort of a winger in front of him that does like to drift in a bit. I think he likes that. I think it works for him because it gives him that more space on the outside. You've got Wilson drifting in, and then you've got Bogle just sort of taking over this sort of right-hand side space. And I do think, actually, with a Harry Wilson on the right-hand side, I do think you might see an elevated Jayden Bogle, because we haven't really tried that with Bogle yet. Basically, every single time since he's been at the club, it's always been the right-hand side winger has always been a right footer every time. We've obviously always seen on the left-hand side someone cutting inside constantly. That's always happened, with it being Gnonto, Okafor now, Solomon, Ramazani at times. All of them have been sort of inverted sort of left wingers. We haven't seen it on the right-hand side. And I think, as I said, if you add Wilson on that right-hand side, I do think you might see a better Jayden Bogle, because I think some of his best games have been when he's played with a winger that's like to drift, like a Wilfried Gnonto. So I do actually, I see the vision with Harry Wilson. And of course, it obviously goes without saying as well, his set piece is something really, really useful as well. I still don't think we've got an obvious set piece taker in the team. I know Stack scored a worldie, but I'm not on about sort of, I think in terms of just actually goal scoring or shooting set pieces, I do really like Stack naturally. You can't take that away from him with his sort of his free kick, obviously against Wolves at the weekend. So when we're shooting, I have no issue with obviously Stack playing a 10. It also on free kick, should I say? But when it's a crossing free kick, and I don't think we've got that obvious quality, and I think it's the same with corners as well. And also, we don't want Stack naturally taking them because we want him in the box. The guy's got an over 85% heading sort of head success rate this season for aerial duels. We need to have him in the penalty area, in my opinion. So as I said, adding a Harry Wilson on the right hand side would massively help us. I think it's a really smart deal. I really do. I know it's not that massive elevation of quality when you look at a player. You don't go wow with Harry Wilson, but you look at what this team needs and what he brings. I do think he brings a lot of attributes that this team just naturally struggles with. A left-footed winger, someone who could take set pieces, and someone different, as we talked about, to DCL and Okafor in that front three. Scott, Farke can't say the squad are full of kids. He can't say the players are inexperienced. He can't say we're a small club like Norwich. He needs to motivate, not insulate. Yeah, no, I completely agree. Daniel Farke needs to just... he needs to do what his advice was to the club and to the fans. We need to move on for the transfer window now. What's happened is happened. We need to work with what we've got. All I'm saying to Daniel Farke is, do what you said you were going to do. Work with that cohort of players now. That's all I'm saying. Just do what you said. Because at the time, I came on the press conference reaction naturally afterwards and said, look, that's exactly what we want to do. Also, as well, I won't have a press conference reaction anymore. I'm scrapping them. I don't really like that video. So it'll just be a live. And I think we'll do a live match preview tomorrow as well, which is the first one I've ever done. So that should be really good. So, yeah, tune in for that as well. That'll be at 8 p.m. as usual. Anyway, let's move on to my next topic that I wanted to talk about. And there is something I wanted to talk about afterwards, but that might get left for Friday's show now. That's going to be a really nice interactive piece. So definitely stick around for Friday's video, because that's going to be about sort of what can you do to elevate this Leeds United team? Who can we bring in to this Leeds United team? The next positions. What are the next pieces in the puzzle to sort of finish this Leeds United team? So I think that's going to be quite good. And also, who would you move on as well? But that looks like it's going to be Friday already, because we end up talking so much on this about sort of each individual topic that we never get through the show. But anyway, yeah, as I said, let's move on to talk about Gnonto anyway. And the reason I want to bring Gnonto up, and as I said, this is a player, like I said in the intro, that I've been wanting to talk about for a while at Leeds United. I don't know, this is going to sound bad and probably not what people like to hear. I'm slightly disappointed with Gnonto in his past sort of 2.5 years of body of work. Not quite 2.5 years, but last 2 years, let's say. Both championship seasons. I don't think his first season, especially in the second half of the season, was too bad at all. But what I expect from Gnonto is a really, really solid player and someone who blew the league away in the Premier League, someone that was in the Italian national team, someone that, to be honest, if there's anyone that we didn't want to lose when we got relegated, it was Wilfried Gnonto for me. Like, obviously, Somerville ended up being our player of the season in the first year by a country mile. He was absolutely brilliant. But when we got relegated, everyone take your minds back to when we got relegated. When we got relegated, if someone had asked you, who would you rather lose, Gnonto or Somerville, we're all saying Somerville. And even in the early team selections, like I remember we played the Ipswich away really early in that season. We won the game 4-3. It was an absolute blinding game. We had Sinistera playing, Rutter played, scored, Perot played his first game. It was brilliant. And Gnonto started on the right-hand side in that game. And that looked like his strongest 11. And then obviously, naturally, Somerville sort of improved his performances. Sinistera went out of the team, obviously went to Bournemouth, refused to play and all that tosh. But at the time, Gnonto's stock and what we thought of Gnonto was on such a degree. Like, at the time when we got relegated, I thought we'd blow Gnonto and Somerville, especially Gnonto, would absolutely blow away the championship. I thought you're looking at the player of the season in the championship straight away when we got relegated. And even for that first season, I said in the summer, not on videos, I didn't used to really do them. I did a little bit, but not as much. But I said in the summer at that point, whoever stays out of Gnonto and Somerville, they will win player of the season in the championship. That's what I genuinely thought would happen. I thought they're that good. I thought, get Gnonto back on the left-hand side. He's been playing on the right-hand side. He will win player of the season on the left-hand side. And again, last season, he was in and out of the team. Solomon was the better. I know he played on the right at times, but it was really James and Solomon who were our first-choice wingers. And we haven't seen, for me, from where Gnonto was, we haven't seen that next development in Gnonto's game. And he's someone that, yes, he wasn't awful. He's not someone that I want to criticise too badly. It's just I expect a lot more from Gnonto. I think I think he is that next quality of player in this team. I really do. I think he can provide a lot. And I think when I look at the sort of ranks at the moment, I think he could be out. I think in terms of an attribute setting and in terms of who's the best footballer on paper, I do think Gnonto's attributes might be the best. I think he might be the best winger. I think he might be better than Okafor. We haven't seen it yet. But as I said, just take your minds back when we do this conversation to that Gnonto under Jesse Marsch. He was brilliant for us. He was absolutely brilliant that season. I remember Villa away and Gary Neville giving the plaudits. And it was because he was utterly fantastic in that game. And we haven't seen that development factor under a Gnonto that we saw from Somerville, that we've seen even from Dan James. And this is not a massive Farke slagging off thing, because he's done well with a lot of players. I just think with the Gnonto thing, for whatever reason, like, it just hasn't quite clicked. Like, the development we've seen from James's, from Rutter's, from Somerville's, etc., the list goes on with Daniel Farke. We haven't seen it with Wilfried Gnonto. We just haven't seen it. And this is a huge season for him now, because last time in the Premier League, he was this great talent, and now he's had these few years developments, but he's still young. I think he's 21, 22 still? So still time for him. But this is a huge year now for Wilfried Gnonto, because he has to now elevate his game to that next level. And for me, he's got to find a way of being that right winger for Leeds United on that right side. I think that is a position he has got to lock up. There isn't huge competition there. I know James had a brilliant season that year, but he hasn't had... I don't think he's had the greatest start to this season. I don't think Brendan Aaronson's the answer on the right-hand side still. I know people quite like him now because of the last game. I don't think that's an answer, to be honest. And I still believe that Gnonto can be that player for us on the right-hand side of the pitch. I really do believe that. But he hasn't had that next elevation, has it, of his game? It just hasn't happened. Gnonto's a good player, but Farke's not a manager that skilled players get on with. Farke likes German-type players. I don't think it's fair to judge Gnonto when he has had to listen to Farke. So you're blaming Farke there, but I know you're saying he's done well with but he's done well. He has done well with Rutter. Did he not do well with Rutter? Like, look at where Rutter was, in terms of he looked awful in the Premier League, if we're being honest. I know people go back and revisionism is brilliant and say how brilliant he was, but he was bad in the Premier League season. He wasn't the right sign at the time. But he was absolutely unbelievable in that first year that Daniel Farke had at the club. And again, is Somerville not a skilled player? Somerville was brilliant under Daniel Farke in the first season in the Championship. But we didn't see it from Gnonto. And I don't know, I just expected more from Gnonto. And it's not, as I said, it's not a slagging off Gnonto. He's still a young lad. But can we see this season the next elevation of Gnonto? Can we see him? He's done well in the Premier League before. There's the World Cup coming up. Can he get himself into that Italian World Cup squad? Because he was in the Italian squad. He was there. He was ready to go. And I remember him playing against England actually in a game. I think England won 2-1. And I remember because Harry Kane did this crawl off the pitch. But in that game, Gnonto came off the bench for Italy and was fantastic. And again, he hasn't managed to get himself back into the Italian national team anymore. I don't know. There's something's gone slightly wrong there. And as I said, I don't want to massively go and blame Daniel Farke or blame Gnonto himself. I just think it would be nice to see the next version of Gnonto and the next version of his development this year in the Premiership. I do think that would be nice to see. And as I said, I do think it's a massive year for him. I really do, because I think now we're going to see. Is he this player that's actually going to make it in the Premier League? Or is he someone that when Leeds United go on this journey, hopefully, of staying in the division and working our way up the league under Daniel Farke or potentially a new manager? Is he someone that's going to be along with the ride? Like, I think you've got players in that team right now. I look at Jayden Bogle at right back. I look at Ethan Ampadu in the holding midfield role. I look at Joe Rodon at the back. And I think they're players that are going to progress with Leeds United, hopefully, if we stay up this year and we can go to the next level next year. Is Gnonto next year, though, at this same time, going to be now just the second backup choice right winger? And we've brought a new right winger in. I think that's the sort of, I don't know. That's my sort of feeling on it right now. I think we just need that next elevation of his game. Rutter was a rebel and wouldn't listen to Farke. That's why he wasn't happy. That's why Farke was happy to see Rutter go. I don't think Farke was happy to see Rutter go, in my opinion. And also, what's he sort of come back for Somerville, PSF? I know you don't like Farke. I know we obviously clash on this quite a bit. Farke's never been my sort of favourite cup of tea. But like in comparison to Bielsa was, for me, he's not there at all, in my opinion. But he did do well with Somerville. He did do well with Rutter. They were both flair players. They were, and I also don't believe that Farke will continue to play a player in Jorginho Rutter if he was just doing nothing of what he wanted. I just don't believe he would have done that. So yeah, as I said, that's why I'm looking at why the development of Gnonto hasn't improved as we'd have probably liked to see it, and I don't know why. As I said, like when we got down, he was, as I said, just take yourself back. He was the player. He was the one at that moment in time, Wilfried Gnonto. He was the star boy in this Leeds United team. He was loving him. I remember even people going mad over him having car lessons and everything. He was just phenomenal at that moment in time. But it just hasn't quite worked for him since, in terms of, not that he's been awful. As I said, I thought he was coming back to his own in that first year, but it hasn't really. I don't know, it hasn't really progressed. Evening, mate. Loving to see how the new channel's growing. Keep smashing it. Yeah, thank you very much, mate. Obviously, the transfer window, it did really well, the channel, naturally. I think because obviously that's when the height of thing is. But it's nice to see you guys still enjoying the content, as it's a bit more of a sort of lull period at this moment in time. And also, apparently, YouTube's doing this thing. I don't know how much of the truth is in that. But apparently, YouTube is sort of damaging it a bit. So if you have reached this point, by the way, if you could drop a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, does massively help the channel. But yeah, the support's been ridiculous. I mean, I've been doing this channel is it 2 months now, and I've And I think I hit about 1,000 subscribers after after just over a month, which was just crazy. I was just never expecting that. So I don't know what I seem to do, but people seem to like it. So yeah, and now obviously we've got this schedule where every single day at 8 PM we're always going to be here talking about Leeds United, and there's always stuff to talk about. Like, people go, where are you getting these stories from? There's always stuff to discuss. Scott, I don't think the squad has. Let's start from the end here. PSF, Scott, I don't think the squad has a weakness. I know we could have more creativity. I know the players could play creatively if they were allowed to. So you actually think that the lack of creativity in the team isn't the players' fault and it's the manager's fault? I just don't agree. I don't think we don't have a recognised top draw number 10. We've bought obviously Okafor on the left hand side, who I think's done a good job, and I think he's quite underrated in this team. I don't think he's quite rated as he probably should be. Like, he's when I look at our two wingers right now, he's our main threat of the wingers by an absolute mile, in my opinion. Like, when Okafor gets the ball, I get quite excited. When Brendan Harrison gets the ball, I don't have that same feeling. I just don't. But I don't think I disagree, PSF. I don't think we've quite got. I think Tanaka's an underratedly creative player in the team. I really do. I think he can offer a lot in terms of a creative standpoint, but I don't think fundamentally we're a team full of creators. I really don't. But yeah, anyway, we have hit 30 minutes now as well, and I've got a few things to do this evening. But we'll so I think we'll probably wrap it up there, people. As I said, I did want to talk about, but stick around tomorrow, because tomorrow is a huge video. We've got the Bournemouth versus Leeds preview, which I'm already looking forward to, because Bournemouth is such an interesting team to analyse and look at, and sort of the way they play and how we can counteract that. I think that should be a really a good video, sort of good stream for you guys. And obviously, it's the first preview that we're going to do live, so we'll see how that gets on, see if you guys can get involved and see what you think about certain ways we can play against them. So I think that should be good. And then Friday, as I said, I've got quite an interesting topic to talk about how we can progress this Leeds team further on as well, and what's the next steps, who's probably going to be the fall guys, and who's going to be the guys that take us that next level. But yeah, thanks you guys all for watching. As I said, if you could do a like, subscribe, all that good stuff does massive help. Jaggy Bab says, thanks for the stream. Thank you very much for being here. If we beat Bournemouth, we'll be top 10. We will. Do you mean that at the end of the season? I hope you do mean that, but I don't know. I think we will be top 10. Well, if we beat Bournemouth, we'll definitely be in the top 10. We might even be in Europe at that moment in time, or in the European spots. Anyway, thanks all for watching, as always. And as I said, get yourself back here tomorrow at 8 PM as we go again with the live preview for Leeds United versus Bournemouth. Thanks all for watching, guys, and I will see you all later. Bye for now.